Welcome back to the Ratchet Clank Revisit, everyone. Last time I took a look at the original 2002 game, so now let's move on to its sequel. This is Ratchet Clank 2, Going Commando. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new re-review. Tonight it's Ratchet Clank Going Commando. Going Commando, known in most PAL regions as Locked and Loaded or just simply Ratchet Clank 2, is a 3D platformer released in November of 2003 for the PlayStation 2. I want to say this was my fourth Ratchet game that I've played. Much like the original, I didn't enjoy it on PS2 because of no memory card, so I beat it on the HD collection, which this and Up Your Arsenal shows some of the problems with the HD collection, which I'll get into later. But now, let's answer the question. Is Going Commando any good? And is it one I can recommend to you? Let's find out. After saving the galaxy and defeating Drek in the last game, Ratchet, now being voiced by James Arnold Taylor, and Clank become celebrities, though their lives remain otherwise uneventful. Story of my life. After giving an interview for the Holovision show Behind the Hero, the pair suddenly find themselves in a spaceship sent by Abercrombie Fizzwidget, voiced by Jim Ward, the founder and CEO of Megacorp, the Bogon Galaxy's largest maker of consumer goods and electronics. He requests Ratchet's help to recover a stolen biological experiment from a masked thief, voiced by Roger Bumpus, while offering Clank employment in the company as accountant. Upon completing an extensive training regimen en route to the Bogon Galaxy, Ratchet is tasked to travel to a flying laboratory on the planet Aranos, where the experiment was last seen. But before he could retrieve it, the thief manages to escape and employs thugs for less, as well as head to planet Uzla, which is a Megacorp outlet. After doing a dogshit dogfight section, we make our way to the Maktar Resort, where we take out a Thugs for Less jamming array, as well as win the Electrolyzer gadget, which allows us to hack certain locks. As we are leaving, Ratchet receives a video message showing that the culprit has captured Clank on the planet Indako, aka Megapolis, not Metropolis. It's here where we have our first fight against the Thug for Less leader, voiced by Stephen Blum. After shooting down his helicopter to his definite death, and he is totally not going to pull a William Afton and cheat death, we teleport to Clank's apartment where we acquire the swing shot and grind boots. We then confront the thief on Siberius, and while the thief does escape after the fight, we do get the experiment back. We meet Fizzwidget at the abandoned Megacorp mining facility on Tabora, where the CEO accidentally destroys the ship and maroons the duo on Tabora. While making their way, we have our encounter with the masked thief, in which he reveals his identity. A longback named Angela Cross, voiced by none other than Princess Sally Acorn herself, Kate Suge. Holy shit, I didn't know that was her until doing research. Angela claims that the experiment is a threat to the entire galaxy, so she gives them the location of a testing facility on planet Dobo, where it was created, and advises them to seek out the proof that backs up her story. Following her lead, the duo infiltrates the facility and discovers a video recording that reveals that the experiment to be highly dangerous and capable of going into a violent rampage. Shortly afterwards, Angela contacts the pair and reveals that Megacorp has duplicated the experiment and intends to sell them as a new product called the Protopet. Convinced that Fizzwidget is unaware of the Protopet's flaws, Ratchet goes to warn him during a promotional event being held on planet Bolden, only to discover that it's a trap by the Thugs for Less leader, after canceling their contract with Angela to work with Megacorp. Captured, the pair find themselves transported back to the first planet of the game Aranos and aboard the same vessel, now being used as a remote prison, but managed to escape confinement. Discovering that Angela was captured by the thugs, the pair track the mercenaries to their hideout on planet Snivelak, defeating their boss and saving Angela. Fuck the Snivelak boss fight! Good fucking god, I thought most enemies in size matters are bullet sponges, but this boss often proves me wrong. Let's start with how the devs intended you to beat this asshole. Using the turrets. Yes, they deal damage, but at a slow as hell rate. Sure, you can use your regular weapons, at the cost of most likely running out of ammo because apparently the Gigantomech's defenses are stronger than a bite from Fredbear, Mango, Wario, and Mike fucking Tyson combined! And don't even get me started on the challenge mode version of this fight, where the mech has stronger defense that would put Metal Mario in the original Smash Brothers to shame. Fuck this boss! After doing some meaningless fetch quests, we reach Angela's home planet Grelbin, where we are handed her old Megacorp ID badge and make our way to the final planet Yedo, which is where Megacorp's HQ is, as well as the Protopet factory. After blasting our way through the facility, the trio sees that Fizz Widget is none other than the returning Quark.
What a twist!
In a bid to restore his reputation, Quark took over Megacorp as Fizz Widget, holding the actual Fizz Widget hostage in a supply closet, with the intention of unleashing the Protopet upon the galaxy so he could use a device called the Helixomorph, created by Angela, to defeat the creatures and make himself famous again. When he demonstrates the device, however, it malfunctions and transforms the original Protopet into a gigantic beast that basically bores him. While Angela goes to rescue the real Fizz Widget, Ratchet subdues the Protopet and saves Quark's life. With Clank's help, Angela fixes the device and broadcasts a signal, neutralizing the Protopets and restoring peace to the Bogon Galaxy. In a mid-credit scene, Ratchet, Clank, and Angela hang out at Clank's apartment, where Angela informs them that Quark has been assigned to work as a test subject for the Crotchetizer at Megacorp as punishment for his crimes, ending Going Commando / Lock and Loaded. So that was the plot, and overall, all I could say is that the stakes, while high, wasn't as high as the originals. That isn't to say the story is bad, far from it. In terms of plots for this franchise, it's pretty good. What's helping are the voices, primarily Ratchet's new and current V8 in the form of James Arnold Taylor, who also provided the voice for Tidus in Final Fantasy X and other Final Fantasy games featuring the character, Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the majority of Star Wars related games, and Captain Jack Sparrow in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Kate Sush also did a pretty good job as Angela Cross, albeit she can get on your nerves due to her clumsy nature. In terms of other roles Kate had, I already mentioned her role as Princess Sally Acorn in Sonic SatAM, but she also provided the voice of Phil Lil and their mother Betty from Rugrats and Princess What's-Her-Name from Earthworm Jim. The cartoon, not the game. In terms of other games, Kate provided the voice of Taro from Final Fantasy X, Sally and Shock from the Kingdom Hearts games, as well as Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, and Cook from Lost Odyssey, but I'm not reviewing Lost Odyssey, so someone has to take one for the team. Steve Bloom did a great job as the Thug leader, although I felt like he was a bit bland, at least to me. That isn't to say Bloom is a terrible voice actor, hell no, far from it. He's the English voice of Spike from Cowboy Bebop and Tom from Toonami, Wolverine in any Marvel-based game including Deadpool. He is also the English voice of Vincent Valentine from the Final Fantasy VII games, starring with the movie Advent Children. He also provided the voices for Ares in the original God of War, as well as Crash and Crash Nitro Kart. He was also Tecmo in Regular Show, as well as Vilgax, Heat Blast, and Ghost Freak in Ben 10, and the games based off of the original series. And finally, Bloom provided the voice for Lucifer in Dante's Inferno, an animated epic. As for Roger Bumpus, the voice of Angela as the thief, the only notable voice roles he has are Squidward from SpongeBob. He also voiced Professor Membrane from Invader Zim, including Enter the Florpus, as well as Dr. Light from Teen Titans. So as you can tell, this is basically an A-list of new VAs. So with the story done, let's move on to the gameplay. Gameplay of Going Commando has us back in the shoes of the title duo, and name of the game is go down multi-path planets, fight enemies, purchase new weapons and gadgets, and die. The gameplay is mostly the same. We still have our run and gun style of gameplay, but there have been some great improvements. For one, Ratchet doesn't slide whenever we let go of the left analog stick. Instead, it's a standard stop. Secondly, we could strafe. By holding down L2 or R2, Ratchet can move side to side while not breaking line of sight from whoever he's shooting at. Another major improvement is something that is now a staple in the franchise: leveling up your weapons. You see that bar? Whenever you kill an enemy, not only do you gain experience to level up your health, making death a complete non-issue, unless you were to do a standard armor run, but we can level up our weapons once during the regular playthrough. This is where the improved challenge mode comes into play. In this, we have even stronger versions of our upgraded weapons we can level up into ultra versions. We also have a bolt multiplier, meaning getting over 1,000,000 bolts won't be a problem. The highest it could go up to is 20. Just be careful, because if you get hit once, that multiplier starts back from square one. Now, of course, there is one last thing I want to talk about. The Insomniac Museum. There are two ways to access this. You can either wait until 3 AM to use a teleporter on the planet Bolden and fight waves of enemies, or assuming you were to play the HD collection of this game, you can use this grind rail on the same planet and glitch your way onto the teleporter, which will take you to the museum. This is as faithful to a recreation of the Insomniac offices during Going Commando's development as you could get. There are tons of cut content you can mess around with, but I'll let you all explore that for yourselves. Visually, this also holds up pretty good. I especially love the aesthetic of the Bogon Galaxy. I may not be a major fan of blue, but man, the Bogon Galaxy's blue hue is aesthetically pleasing to the eye. OST, it's also pretty great. The tracks, while not as iconic as the first games, it's still pretty great. The most notable ones would be Planet Aranos's theme, Uzla, the Wupash Nebula, all of the Maktar Resort OSTs. Literally, much like the first game, this OST is remarkable. Now, let's recap. I think the story is good, even though the stakes aren't as high as the first games. Gameplay made some major improvements. Visually, it is still amazing. The same goes for the OST. So here are my closing thoughts. Overall, everyone, Going Commando definitely made some much needed changes from the first game. From the improved gameplay, better lineup of weapons, and bolts that aren't as scarce like the first game, Going Commando is a pretty good sequel. I just love the next game a bit more. But that's a story for another day. But for Ratchet & Clank 2, it gets my score of a 9.9 out of 10. But now I want to know from you all. Did you play Going Commando? What did you think of it? And is it one you could recommend to a friend? Leave your answers and more down in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And while you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, my social media links are down below. I've been HorrorKid, and join me when I revisit Ratchet & Clank 3, Up Your Arsenal. This one will most likely be a doozy, so I hope you all will be patient with the wait. Till then, you all take care.